It's July 2nd, 2021, and today I'm going to talk about John McAfee's death and Bitcoin, Brock Pierce, Marc Collins-Rector, and Jeffrey Epstein. I'm going to refer to a few articles and YouTube videos. As you probably know, on June 23rd, 2021, John McAfee was found apparently hanged of suicide by his own hand in his jail cell in Barcelona, Spain. But and this is referenced in this video, John McAfee found dead with eerie connection to Epstein, etc., made by Anthony On Air. He had a tattoo saying he wouldn't kill himself, and he also alluded to the fact that he said that if he was suicided a la Epstein, it wouldn't be of his own doing. So that video covers that. And I wanted to talk about the cryptocurrency end of this because in his last video, this is his last video. This came out on June 25th, just 2 days after he died. John McAfee, final interview while on the run by FTM Invest. He talks about how he doesn't believe in cryptocurrencies, but apparently the FBI was going after him for an alleged cryptocurrency pump and dump, saying that he would get paid to promote certain cryptocurrencies without disclosing that he was making money off of it. And John McAfee says, like, work on yourself, like only do things that benefit you. There's a video on why Monero is better than Bitcoin. I haven't watched it, but apparently he was using Monero at the time of his death. But if you read this article from the New York Post, John McAfee hideout traced to Spanish ghost hotel with the Bitcoin farm. The New York Post and CNN, not the most reliable of sources, I admit, but here's who's talking about this. These sources have said that he had a computer farm that was doing Bitcoin transactions on it. And I'm starting to suspect that maybe it was his use of cryptocurrencies that possibly caused him to get traced down. And that's what I want to make this video to talk about. The New York Post article says that there were people on the internet, web sleuths as they call it, constantly analyzing his images and messages, tracing him to a mysterious hotel in Cambrils in Catalonia. Spanish newspaper El Confidencial first revealed after his arrest last October. So some people on the internet tracked him down. Maybe, if this claim about McAfee defrauding people through cryptocurrencies is true, if it's true, I'm not saying I know it's true. If it's true, maybe it was some people who McAfee defrauded, who tracked him down and accused him of cryptocurrency fraud as a way to, get back at him for the cryptocurrency fraud. Or maybe he didn't do anything wrong to them. Maybe he didn't give them investment advice, or maybe they had a deal that didn't work out, and maybe they just had some kind of problem with him and took revenge on him by getting him in trouble. I can't say for sure I know what's going on here because I haven't been following McAfee's story much, and I don't trade in Bitcoin. I don't use cryptocurrency. Now, this is not a dig at Bitcoin. I think blockchain technology can be useful, but you have to worry about the possibility that it could be used to track you down. Like if you're on the run, it might not be such a good idea to use a digital currency. Now, McAfee says he hasn't used money or cash in years, as this commenter says. He says he's always paying in cash. Says he has over $70,000 in cash when he was arrested in Dominican Republic. Doesn't pay with cyber currency. This is a way to hold his assets, which he converts into cash to pay his bills. And I wanted to read a couple other comments. One person said they tracked him to Spain because of the Bitcoin transactions he did. The irony. And if that's possible, then that's very disturbing, and that's what I'm going to go into detail about. But, I'm also going to read the people who don't agree with that suspicion. Someone says his sacrifice says that the elite control Bitcoin. I'm going to talk about why that's true. Then someone says, this is what I keep trying to point out, but they played everyone once again. And I'm just going to remind everyone that, I suspected that something was up with Robinhood before it crashed. I didn't participate in it because I didn't have any savings and I didn't feel comfortable investing in it if I did have money. So someone says, do you really believe that? McAfee thought Bitcoin would go to zero and recommended people use Monero instead because it's actually used as a currency. I think it's safe to say that Monero is probably the last cryptocurrency that John McAfee used. The next comment is, Monero is a cryptocurrency and much more likely to be banned in the US before Bitcoin is. All transactions in Bitcoin are logged on a public ledger for the whole world to see. And I'm going to go into detail about that public ledger. That public ledger is blockchain. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But I urge you to read this in detail. It might be a bunch of bullshit, but it'll give you an idea at least of what the government is claiming is true. And it shows that there are people on the internet who are trying to track John McAfee down. And we don't know if they did this out of spite or whether they got financially scammed by him, or whether they did it because they just hate McAfee, or maybe they are people who work for the government. Maybe CIA people did it and they just did it anonymously. Like, we don't know. We have no idea who helped track this guy down. But we do know from like what happened with Shia LaBeouf that like if a guy tries to disappear in Finland, some assholes on Reddit are going to be able to figure out where he is, just even out of spite. It's very easy to track someone down. There's a whole book about how, like, this retired cop, Ted Gunderson, FBI investigator, wrote a book about like how to track someone down without leaving your kitchen or without putting your pajamas on or something like that. So read that article. Even if it's not true, you got to know what your enemies are saying. Maybe half of it's true. They blend fiction with reality, make you believe the fiction. Here's what I wanted to talk about in relation to Bitcoin and why I don't trust Bitcoin and why I wouldn't invest in Bitcoin if I had money. Brock Pierce elected Bitcoin Foundation board chairman. And Brock Pierce is a former child actor. He also ran for president in 2020. He came in like 6th or 7th or something. He only had a registration in a couple states at the beginning of in the beginning of 2020, and then he rapidly accelerated, got access in like, I don't know, 15 states or something. Pretty good for a first-time presidential candidate. So it's like, how did he fund that? Probably with his Bitcoin connections. He's been on the board of Bitcoin since 2015. He's also on the board of SRAX, which is a financial technology company that unlocks data and insights for publicly traded companies. He joined the board of directors in 2021, earlier this year, March. Brock Pierce was born in 1980. He was a child actor in the 90s in Disney films such as The Mighty Ducks, Mighty Ducks 2, and First Kid, in which he plays the son of the president. He plays a 13-year-old son of the president of the United States who lives in the White House and is protected by Sinbad as a Secret Service agent. You might know that Brock Pierce was involved in a sex scandal. Read this article from IndieWire, October 2017. Hollywood's underage sexual abuse problem, 5 shocking injustices from an open secret. Open Secret was a documentary about Marc Collins-Rector. Marc Collins-Rector had a production company called DEN, Digital Entertainment Network, and Marc Collins-Rector was born in 1959, and he, along with Chad Shackley, basically lured Brock Pierce into Hollywood and probably also into a gay pedophilic sex ring, like men on teenage boys. Marc Collins-Rector, born in 1959, founded Digital Entertainment Network, DEN, which is an online streaming video broadcaster and .com failure. He had a child sexual abuse conviction, but he fled to Belgium and is also known by Morgan von Phoenix. He lived in Antwerp, Belgium. He was alleged to have sexually abused boys and coerced them with drugs and guns. This guy also has a patent on a YouTube algorithm that organizes the way the tabs are shown for presenting the next video recommendations on YouTube. This guy owns a patent of the YouTube algorithm, and he's sitting in his house full of computers in Belgium, probably masturbating to teenage boys on the internet while he's just collecting money on that patent. And tried to marry an 18-year-old boy, and then the UK said that he should have registered as a sex offender when he got there, and they said no, and they tried to extradite him, so he fled to Belgium. He's still alive and still a free man. He's just under an assumed name, Morgan von Phoenix or something else. This article from Hollywood Reporter from September 2019 is called The Strange Saga of Jeffrey Epstein's Link to a Child Star Turned Cryptocurrency Mogul. How Brock Pierce ended up as a Jeffrey Epstein guest, along with a NASA computer engineer, an MIT professor of electrical engineering, and a Nobel laureate in theoretical physics, is a bizarre tale involving Steve Bannon as an advisor to Donald Trump, and an international man of mystery who may or may not be dead. So I don't even have time to go into this, but if you read any article about shady dealings involving prominent Bitcoin board member and presidential candidate, presidential candidate Brock Pierce, former child actor, possibly was lured into complicity in a pedophilic male sex ring in Hollywood 15 years ago. If you look up any article about Brock Pierce or Marc Collins-Rector, you will find a lot of crazy stuff. And if you look up Brock Pierce's relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, I'm not even going to go into it. I'm just saying you need to read this article. People need to know about what's going on with Brock Pierce. This guy's trying to be the president of the United States. He's hanging out with former Trump chief strategist Steve Bannon, who has his own ties to Epstein. Donald Trump knew Epstein as early as the early 90s. According to Maria Farmer, an artist employed by Ghislaine Maxwell, Donald Trump's wife would go for limo rides to cruise with Ghislaine Maxwell for teenage girls at bus stops. Marc Collins-Rector, Chad Shackley, and Brock Pierce are messed up. Brock Pierce was never charged with anything, but he allegedly quit acting at the age of 17. But according to extensive media reports, when Dent imploded, Pierce had been making $250,000 a year at the company. What was he doing? I mean, I guess they were producing movies, but what kind of movies were they producing together? They were having parties with A-list guests such as alleged predators Bryan Singer and Gary Goddard, although neither had faced legal charges. This was several years ago. I don't know if Bryan Singer has faced charges since then. I don't have time to comment on that. Brock Pierce served court papers for fraud lawsuit at his own presidential campaign rally. Hippie king of cryptocurrency wants to turn Puerto Rico into a Burning Man utopia. This, everywhere you look with Brock Pierce, is something suspicious. Like, this guy might be like rigging up gay sex orgies for elite people. What is introducing a new currency to Puerto Rico intended to solve? It's intended to solve their economic problems. This says to Puerto Rico, your economic problems will be solved if you turn to Bitcoin and Brock Pierce to make it into a Burning Man style utopia. Does that scream wholesome? Does that say I'm definitely not gonna decrease the age of consent in Puerto Rico and use legal underage prostitution as a solution to Puerto Rico's problems? I mean, like, how many friends does this guy have who want to have sex with Puerto Rican teenage boys? I'm just asking questions. We can only speculate. And then there's all this. There's the possibility that the Bitcoin blockchain containing child pornography. The good thing about cryptocurrency is that it's all traced. And if you buy and sell something that's contraband using it, then it can be tracked. But that means that someone can see it. Because if you own Bitcoin, then you own the blockchain, which is the ledger on which Bitcoin transactions are recorded. So if you own the blockchain, then theoretically you can see the contraband. If contraband is being traded, you can see whatever's being traded. And this is not just me saying this. Bitcoin Foundation had to write an article saying that it wasn't true. I wasn't able to find that article, but you can read an article from Wired.com called "Why Porn on the Blockchain Won't Doom Bitcoin" to explain why I might be wrong. You can look up the Bitcoin Foundation's article about why that's not true if you can find it to see why I might be wrong. But there's an article from BBC from February 2019 called "Child Abuse Images Hidden in Cryptocurrency Blockchain." Images of child sexual abuse have been found embedded in the system powering a high-profile cryptocurrency, the core ledger of Bitcoin, Satoshi Vision, BSV. And it says the UK law states the simple possession of indecent photographs of children is an offense, and any distribution of such material can warrant a longer prison sentence. And I highly recommend this article from The Guardian from March 2018 called "Child Abuse Imagery Found Within Bitcoin's Blockchain." Researchers discover illegal content within the distributed ledger, making possession of it potentially unlawful in many countries. Researchers from the RWTH Aachen University, Germany, found that around 1,600 files were currently stored in Bitcoin's blockchain. Of the files, at least 8 were sexual content, including one thought to be an image of child abuse. and two that contain 274 links to child abuse content, 142 of which link to dark web services. Our analysis shows that certain content, e.g., illegal pornography, can render the mere possession of a blockchain illegal, the researchers wrote. And you can read about that in detail in this article, A Quantitative Analysis of the Impact of Arbitrary Blockchain Content on Bitcoin. Researchers continue, although court rulings do not yet exist, legislative text from countries such as Germany, the UK, or the USA suggest that illegal content, such as child abuse imagery, can make the blockchain illegal to possess for all users. So basically, if you own Bitcoin, then you own the Bitcoin blockchain. And if there's anything illegal traded that's on the Bitcoin blockchain, on the Bitcoin ledger of transactions, where a thing was transacted and traded that was illegal, that's contraband, such as child pornography, bestiality images, potentially instructions on how to make weapons or something, just possessing a currency that has traded in that means that you can potentially view that illegal image, which would mean that under laws in the USA and Germany and the UK, legislative text suggests that that would be illegal. So like I said, Bitcoin came out with an article saying that you don't need to worry about this, and there's several articles you can read why porn on the blockchain won't doom Bitcoin. Let's read some of this. Last week, the internet jumped on a new research paper proclaiming that the Bitcoin blockchain contains child pornography. Authors of the paper conclude that if you're one of the thousands of people running a full copy of the Bitcoin software, or even just a curious researcher downloading transaction history, you're breaking the law, because removing any data from the blockchain destroys the functionality of the system. The legal trouble could spell doom for cryptocurrencies. What was missing from the conversation is a more nuanced understanding of how the law works. Bitcoin technologies in their current form may run afoul of the most literal interpretation of the law, but neither the legal system nor the technology are that pedantic. Both sides can appear more flexible than they first appear, and innocent blockchain users aren't going to jail. Still, the debate raises meaty questions about how the blockchain might stack up against current U.S. law. Blockchains are shared ledgers that record cryptocurrency transactions. Just as you can write anything you like on the back of a transaction receipt, blockchains allow you to write arbitrary data along with your transaction if you have the right software. It's a feature, not a bug. Bitcoins have long used this capability to insert data into the blockchain, ranging from Valentine's Day messages and Rickrolls to controversial WikiLeaks documents. The authors of the current paper, which was presented at the recent Financial Cryptography Conference, systematically scanned the Bitcoin blockchain. They found 1,600 examples of non-transactional data, including a handful they considered objectionable or illegal. As a result, they conclude that every person who runs a full copy of the Bitcoin software, known as full node operator, is in possession of illegal material such as child pornography, a serious crime, whether they realize it or not. So this current paper is a qualitative analysis of the impact of arbitrary blockchain content on Bitcoin by Roman Matzut and 7 other authors. Abstract: blockchains primarily enable credible accounting of digital events, e.g. money transfers in cryptocurrencies. However, beyond this original purpose, blockchains also irrevocably record arbitrary data, ranging from short messages to pictures. This does not come without risk for users, as each participant has to locally replicate the complete blockchain, particularly including potentially harmful content. We provide the first systematic analysis of the benefits and threats of arbitrary blockchain content. Our analysis shows that certain content, e.g. illegal pornography, can render the mere possession of a blockchain illegal. Based on these insights, we conduct a thorough quantitative and qualitative analysis of unintended content on Bitcoin's blockchain. Although most data originates from benign extensions to Bitcoin's protocol, our analysis reveals more than 1,600 files in the blockchain, over 99% of which are text or images. Among these files, there is clearly objectionable content such as links to child pornography, which is distributed to all Bitcoin participants. With our analysis, we thus highlight the importance for future blockchain designs to address the possibility of unintended data insertion and protect blockchain users accordingly. So again, that is the abstract of this article, A Quantitative Analysis of the Impact of Arbitrary Blockchain Content on Bitcoin. That is a paper presented at the Financial Cryptography Conference. And this article from Wired continues. This isn't the first apocalyptic claim about blockchains and the law. It won't be the last. One standard story is that blockchains will make large swaths of criminal law, taxation, and financial regulation disappear by making all kinds of activities, including money laundering and leaking state secrets, impossible to prevent. The recent warning flips the script. It suggests blockchains will die under assault from law enforcement. Someone who sticks child pornography in a blockchain, according to this argument, contaminates the entire ledger with radioactive toxic waste, making it illegal for anyone else to touch. The truth is otherwise. Blockchains won't make the law go away, and the law won't make blockchains go away. The reason is that both the law and blockchains are capable of adapting to a world with the other in it. And I think that last sentence is true. Blockchains aren't going to go away. And blockchains are good. Like I said, cryptocurrencies can be good unless they're used to track people down who maybe don't deserve it. I don't know whether John McAfee really killed his neighbor for killing his dog, like they say. I don't know whether he was even involved in cryptocurrency much in his last days, aside from Monero a year or two ago or whatever. I'm not too into this. Like I said, I don't invest in anything, much less cryptocurrency. But I just wanted to make you aware of some of the discussions that were being had several years ago in the media and by Brock Pierce and by the Bitcoin Foundation's press releases, which I'm sorry I wasn't able to find, but they did address this controversy a few years ago. And I knew that Brock Pierce was on the board at the time. I knew about his past with his possible past with homosexual pedophilic boy sex rings in Hollywood involving Marc Collins-Rector, which there was a whole documentary about his crimes against young boys and how he uses business as a way to cover for it and fund it. So in my opinion, the fact that John McAfee, mentioned Epstein and that he didn't want to get like Epstein fake suicided, it's definitely creepy in terms of the potential that John McAfee got murdered, but I don't think it's necessarily suggests that the same people who killed Epstein killed McAfee. I mean, it could have been, because a lot of the governments, most of the imperialist and Western governments are all working together. America and Spain, I think, are working together. They're maybe a little at odds about like what happens in Texas, like with the roads and the oil, and Spain wants some property in Texas and stuff. But I think mostly we're pretty much aligned because like Spain has the same royal family distantly related to the UK and 6 other families in Europe, and America's on good terms with all of them. So there's relationships you need to know about here if you're going to invest in Bitcoin. Bitcoin ownership, if you have the full version, apparently, according to this academic paper, a quantitative analysis of the impact of arbitrary blockchain content on Bitcoin. Owning Bitcoin is potentially illegal in the UK, US, and Germany, and probably other countries if it contains child pornography. If child pornography apparently is accessible through operation of the full version of Bitcoin, ownership of the full version of the Bitcoin software. So you got to be extremely selective. This is not in promotion of the dollar or gold or silver or any particular currency or any cryptocurrency. I don't know anything about cryptocurrencies. I do support the use of blockchain unless it's used to track people who don't need to be tracked. I agree with John McAfee that gold and silver are difficult to carry around. It's absurd to assume you can carry all your wealth with you, especially while you're on the run. And that I agree with him that you should work on yourself. But what he said, I'm not trying to knock the guy, but he's accused of a lot of stuff, and we can't just dismiss that and say, I think he's a good guy. He was accused of cryptocurrency fraud and he was accused of murder. I don't know how much of that is true. Could be that both of them are true. Could be that one is true and the other's not. Could be that neither of them are true. I don't know. I don't know enough about the guy to say. I think it's fair to say he didn't kill himself because of his tattoo and his tweets. McAfee was right to say, base your success and your independence, your financial freedom on working for yourself and doing what you love. I absolutely agree with that. But what's said about his crimes can't be ignored, so I have to admit that could be a distraction from potential crimes that he committed. Not trying to slander the guy. I'm just trying to be fair to what the real possibilities are. I just wanted to let people know. Bitcoin, its board, and Brock Pierce's possible financial dealings with financial companies and political interests and attempts to get Bitcoin to solve Puerto Rico's financial problems. Like, I'm really suspicious of Brock Pierce, and he wants to be president of the United States, and he used to play the president's son. Like I keep saying, and like Alex Jones has said, people in Hollywood and people who are working with both Hollywood and the government, like for example, Rahm Emanuel's Hollywood agent brother, Ari Emanuel, they want to blend fiction with reality. So they comment on politics a lot in their entertainment, or they make something that's political really entertaining, like Donald Trump, like putting Donald Trump on Saturday Night Live. So just remember, these people are trying to make money off of you. Like maybe John McAfee falls into that category. I don't know. But I'm just trying to tell you, Brock Pierce definitely does. And his former associate, who he's possibly still in contact with, he runs a tech company. Marc Collins-Rector, who Brock Pierce is probably still in contact with. We don't know. He has this patent to the YouTube algorithm. And like people were saying years ago that the YouTube algorithm was leading little kids to like videos about torturing little kids and torturing babies, like songs about torturing babies. Here we go from Slate.com, November 2017. The problem with Silicon Valley's playthings. Even YouTube's service for kids is being abused. Can anything control the massive platforms that now shape our lives? A child's happily watching videos of his favorite cartoon characters when suddenly he screams. The character he's known to grow and like are killing each other or torturing each other. Disturbing videos slipping past the parental controls on YouTube Kids. Not an isolated incident. Mildly unsettling to profoundly creepy videos. Cartoon characters killing each other. So there's something about the YouTube algorithm that was making kids watch videos of cartoon characters killing each other and torturing each other in 2017. And it possibly had something to do with this 2001 patent that I'm pretty sure YouTube uses. I'll show you why I think they use it in a second. United States patent, Collins-Rector et al. That's Marc Collins-Rector and his former partner, Chad Shackley. That's one, I think this is misspelled. It's Shakley. That was Marc Collins-Rector's accomplice in the Hollywood pedophilic sex ring. And here's what the YouTube algorithm looks like, or at least the display of it. You've probably seen this on YouTube after you're done with the video. It comes up with more suggestions. Marc Collins-Rector invented this, and he has an extremely detailed way of how to program it and how to show it. Like he patented this in 2001. That was 5 years before YouTube got started. Marc Collins-Rector might have a whole lot more stake in YouTube than we suspect. Well, we had no idea of this. Most people had no idea of this. If he has a patent in how YouTube works, maybe he has a whole lot of money in the YouTube algorithm. And like I said, he's sitting in a house full of computers in Antwerp, Belgium, under a false name, probably masturbating to teenage boys all day. This guy might be collecting money off of every YouTube views. I'm sorry to go through YouTube, but like now we gotta go through Vimeo, Dailymotion, and just look up a list of alternatives to YouTube because they're out there. We gotta get on them. We gotta get on alternative social networks because YouTube and Facebook are bought. YouTube was designed by Marc Collins-Rector, a prominent Hollywood pedophile, guys, from Digital Entertainment Network, the man who possibly lured one-time presidential candidate Brock Pierce into a pedophilic Hollywood sex ring. This man walks free and possibly makes money off of every YouTube view. Just keep that in mind, these people's financial dealings of Marc Collins-Rector and Brock Pierce, the next time you watch YouTube or think about investing in Bitcoin. And the next time you think about John McAfee's possible involvement in cryptocurrency. Don't get involved in cryptocurrency unless you know in detail where your money is going, and make sure you can trust all the people that you're involved in this financial transaction with. Not promoting the US dollar. I know a lot more people use the dollar than Bitcoin, but I'm saying Bitcoin is not a solution. Eventually, some people that are using the currency will use it for evil, and that currency will become basically blood money. And once most people think it's blood money, you're not going to want to have your hands go anywhere near it. Fair warning. Here's my final thought. I've noted that McAfee observed that Epstein was probably killed, and I just read an article a minute ago that said McAfee said when Epstein allegedly killed himself that he was 6'1" and allegedly hung himself from a 5'7" bed. I haven't verified if that's accurate, but that's McAfee's thoughts of the Epstein situation, as long as we're discussing McAfee and Epstein together. as far as whether someone who could have killed Epstein could have possibly also killed McAfee, like for example, Bill and or Hillary Clinton. I don't know if that's true, but I want to mention that possibility because there have been, I've heard it from, I don't know if it was YouTube commenters, but two or more quote unquote sources, however you would consider that, that McAfee allegedly gifted computers with spy equipment on them to Hillary Clinton and other elite officials, possibly saying that they were virus protected. I'm not sure. I wasn't able to get any articles on that. So if anyone can comment on that in the comment section, I would love to hear any more details about John McAfee giving people computers to spy on the elite. If he did that and if someone found out, I mean, if that's what happened, then I guess we know about it. So if that's what happened, then that knowledge of that must have leaked. So presumably the elites he was trying to spy on must have found out, and otherwise, how would we know about it? Again, I haven't been able to verify this. I would really like some help in the comments, getting more details. But if McAfee did spy on the elite, then of course that would be why the elite would want him dead. And of course, also he's a criminal on the run, and he was almost nominated by the Libertarian Party, the largest third party in the United States, which has the greatest chance to unseat the two-party duopoly. So that's a reason why the elite would want to kill him. Just saying. I don't know who killed him, but now we have all these details to talk about.